All right, we're giving it a second here. Looks like we're up on 2 out of 2 platforms. Awesome. With that said, let's make sure our audio levels are good. And they are looking good. Cool. Well, hey everybody, and welcome to the New Vote Nevada Twitch stream. My name is Mark. I'm the founder and executive director of New Vote Nevada, and I'm the guy who does the Twitch streams. And so you get to deal with me here for the next hour and a half. Really exciting times. Number one, I'm sorry. It's been so long since our last stream. I've missed you all so dearly, all one of you. And you know what? I think that this is going to be something we do more frequently. I think next week we're planning on having a stream with a guy named Christian, who is over at Rise. If you're familiar with Rise, Rise is also doing youth vote work here in Nevada. And then I believe a fellow named Sterling, who's also interested in youth organizing space, as well as, you know, what's out there in terms of digital organizing around, you know, the gaming space and places like Discord and places like Twitch. And I think that there's so much to be explored here. You know, there's so much community to be built, and it's exciting to think about what's possible here in the long term. And you know what? Sometimes that just starts with playing Mario Kart and talking about the First Amendment. And God damn it, if that's not what we're doing here tonight. So originally we had planned to play some Gears of War Reloaded with Georgie. Georgie is last minute not available, which is a-okay. We missed Georgie. I'm actually wearing my old Georgie band merch. There we go. Shout out the old Max Fisher days. But Georgie, unfortunately, was not available tonight after all. And so we are going to sort of take it as it comes, and we are going to play some Mario Kart World. And we're also going to talk about something that's really important right now, which is the First Amendment. I'm sure many folks have been following the news around, you know, the Jimmy Kimmel situation and some of the fallout of the events of the last week and a half. And, you know, it's a stressful time for sure. And I think that a lot of the conversations that happen right now around the First Amendment and the right for people to speak their mind or say their opinion or, you know, any number of things, you know, it's not limited to this last week. It's been an ongoing conversation, you know, for the better part of the last decade. You know, talking about things like cancel culture, talking about things like, you know, what is or is not acceptable to be saying. And so, you know, unfortunately, I think it's a topic that can get contentious, but really, it really shouldn't be, right? I think the First Amendment is pretty clear, and so tonight we're going to talk a little bit about that. Hopefully, it's not going to be immensely boring, but we're also going to play some Mario Kart, and I've got a great video queued up. It is like the U.S. Constitution simplified, and I learned some stuff listening to it, and so I think that's going to be cool. But before we do that, let me take this mic portable here, and then we'll switch over to the gaming tab. Cool. And so I have to confess, in the time since I left you, let's see how my mic is. Okay, it's a little low. That could be better. Is that? No. Yikes. Okay. In any case, in the time since I left you, I've been really sweaty with Mario Kart. I've played a whole bunch of Mario Kart. And so I'm shamefully invested in this game. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this microphone as a stand for my portable microphone. Don't say we're not janky. Don't say we're not creative and solutions oriented. Okay, how does that look on the chart? Much better. All right, so we're going to get the Switch audio up a little bit here because it is low. Awesome. And so I think probably what we'll do, what do we want to do? I don't want to get too invested. You can see here, we'll go in. My rank in like normal multiplayer, just like the regular races, is not really anything to write home about. You know, 7,800's fine. My knockout tour rank is 8,700. I've gotten as high as like 89 something or other, like high 89s. And so I take that a little too serious, a little too seriously. But I think what I'll do is just play some kind of casual races here, and I'll throw on the video about the First Amendment, and then basically we can chat through it. Probably around 5:30 Pacific time. My buddy Julian is going to call in. Julian is a fellow sort of a youth vote appreciator and great mind when it comes to this sort of thing. And I'm sure he's got a lot to talk about, but he's going to call in around 5:30, provided we stream that long. And we'll kind of go from there. But I hope that everybody's having a wonderful day. Bear with me here. It has been a minute since we've gotten this stream up and going, and so getting OBS to function quite how we need it is always a challenge. But let's go ahead and get this all situated. What do I need to do here? I gotta get Switch video. 1 second here, folks. There we go. All right. We're going to watch a video about the Constitution while I play Mario Kart.
All right, everybody, we're here today to talk about the first...
Shout out to this guy. This guy's name is Mr. Drost History. Mr. D-R-O-S-T-E History. And he's going to tell us more about the First Amendment to the Constitution.
First Amendment, arguably the most important of the Bill of Rights, that is the first 10 amendments. Of course, it's up for debate, but I think many people would argue that the First Amendment is the most important. That's because there's so much to the First Amendment. So my goal today is to give you just a broad overview of the amendment itself. The First Amendment and free speech in particular, courts have ruled to what extent Americans have free speech in different ways over the years. So my goal here is to just give you this broad overview, a good understanding of the basics behind the First Amendment. And I think the first thing that we can do here is just go into the literal text of the amendment itself, read that, and then discuss what every little bit of it means. Okay, so the First Amendment reads, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. All right, so let's just talk about the first part there. It's called the Establishment Clause, the freedom of religion portion of the First Amendment. And what the Establishment Clause means is that Congress will not establish an official religion of the United States. We have the freedom to have any faith we want in this country, or you don't have to have any faith whatsoever. And Congress will not pass a law that favors one faith over another. Now, obviously, faith is going to play a part in our government if a representative or a senator or what have you is religious. It's going to impact how they vote, but that faith should not carry over into the laws that they pass. The government of the United States should not push their religion on the people of the United States or favor one religion over another. Now, freedom of religion was really, really important to the founding of the United States. All you have to do is go back to the original 13 colonies, the 13 British colonies, and know that one of the reasons why many of those people came to the colonies, especially in the Northeast, was to have freedom of religion. All you have to do is look at the Puritans, look at the Separatists, the Pilgrims. They were coming over here to practice freedom.
All right, we do have to pause to acknowledge that masterclass in bagging. If you've never played Mario Kart before, or Mario Kart World before, sorry to interrupt this lesson on the United States Constitution. And so there are some maps where you want to be out ahead all the time, right? You want to be out in front, first place, crushing the game. You want to be in the lead, right? There are other maps like Koopa Troopa Beach where sort of it's far more beneficial to hang out in the back, get good items, and then use those items in the final push to get around. Because Koopa Troopa Beach is one lap, and it's so small that if somebody uses the lightning, for example, and everybody loses their items, if you have like a bullet bill or you have a mega shroom and you can avoid that shock, you just need to make one lap around and you're more likely to catch up than you are in other maps. And so some maps are really good for bagging, some maps are really good for front running. Koopa Troopa Beach, excellent for bagging. And so we went from 13th place, last place, all the way up to second place.
Freely in a way that they
Anyway, here's the United States Constitution.
couldn't back in Europe. So it's no surprise that the Establishment Clause and freedom of religion made their way into the First Amendment. All right, so the second part of the First Amendment is all about freedom of speech. Now, freedom of speech is always a hot button issue here in the United States. What exactly does it mean to have freedom of speech? And as I said at the top, there's been different court rulings on this over the years. So just in a very broad perspective, the simplest way I can explain this to you is freedom of speech has to do with government censorship of speech. So if you're an individual here in the United States, you have the ability to express your opinion on whatever you want, as long as you are not threatening somebody, threatening violence, putting someone in danger, or making up lies about them that could be harmful to them. Outside of that, you have the freedom to say what you want. You can criticize your government, and you will not go to jail for that. That's what freedom of speech is. The government will not put you in jail for expressing your opinion, and the government will not prevent you from expressing your opinion. That does not mean that a private entity cannot censor you. So for example, you can't just go into your place of work and say whatever you want, say derogatory things about your coworkers, about your boss, and expect to not face punishment. Of course, you're going to get punished. You might lose your job. And you can't say while you're being dragged out from your job, what about my freedom of speech? That's not what freedom of speech is. You're not going to go to jail, most likely, unless you were threatening somebody, for expressing your opinion about your coworkers. But you are going to face consequence, and that is not a violation of freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is solely about the government should not prevent you from expressing your opinion, and the government is not going to throw you in jail for expressing your opinion as long as you're not breaking any laws. That's freedom of speech. All right, so the next part here in the First Amendment deals with freedom of the press. Freedom of the press, pretty self-explanatory, I think. We have a free press in this country to keep our citizens informed. It's critical to have a functioning democracy. You need your citizens to be informed. Democracy dies without a free press. So we shouldn't have the government influencing press coverage of anything really, but especially the government and its proceedings, because we want our citizens to know what's going on in their government. That's at the state level, the local level, and of course the national level as well. We don't have state-run media here in the United States. That's not something that you want in a free democracy. The right of the people to peaceably assemble, the next portion here of the First Amendment, and this is essentially what the United States was born out of, the idea that we could peaceably assemble in the streets. We could protest the taxes that the British were putting on the American colonists over the years. We could protest and advocate for things like civil rights, voting rights. We can protest wars. That's all a constitutional right, as long as you're not creating violence, you're not hurting people, you're not destroying property. Peaceably assembling is one of the hallmarks of the United States, and it is protected by the First Amendment. And lastly, the right of the people to petition the government for a redress of grievances. This is just the idea that American citizens can contact their government, petition to them, ask them to stand up for their rights, advocate for ideas that are important to them. Now, of course, the idea of petitioning your government looks a lot different here in the 21st century. than it did back in the 1700s. But again, this is a piece of the First Amendment, the idea that you should be able to advocate for things by going right to your elected officials. So again, this is a very textbook definition and explanation of what the First Amendment is. Court rulings have varied on some of these rights over the years in dealing with their limitations and the extent to which these rights exist. But if you look at this from a broad perspective, that is your textbook definition of the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. We'll see you next time.
Okay, so we'll pause that before things really get popping here. Rainbow Road. But I hope that that's informative, because I feel like that's been a big part of the conversation for a long time, is sort of, oh, I have the First Amendment right to say whatever I want. And I think that in light of the conversation that we're having now, there is a piece to it that's sort of like, okay, if somebody disagrees with what it is you have to say, if your employer does, like, what rights do you have? And I think that the reality is, you can kind of get fired at work for, outside of if you have like a collective bargaining agreement, or if there are specific state laws, like, your employer has a lot of rights to fire you for, misconduct, or if it seems like it's gonna negatively impact the business, which it, if you go out and say some really crazy stuff, it just might. And so oftentimes, like the guy said in the video, you do have consequences for things that you say if you speak, things that could get you in trouble at work, right? I think what makes the sort of Jimmy Kimmel situation a little bit different than a situation like that is, ooh, I fell off, that's not good. What makes the Jimmy Kimmel situation a little bit different than that is that, and I don't know, I mean, I'm not a constitutional scholar, but just as a guy who pays attention to these things and often talks about them, it just seems like, to me, the federal government, or officers of the federal government, exerting, power, right? Whether it's soft power in terms of saying, hey, listen, you've got a big merger deal coming up that we have sole approval authority over, and we think that Jimmy Kimmel ought to go, right? That might not be like putting a law into place that you can't say X, Y, or Z thing, but functionally, that's the federal government putting its thumb on the scale, right? That's not some sort of benign, like, oh, well, it's just us having our opinion, or, they're doing what they think is right for that contract. I think if they weren't going out for the merger, perhaps they would still have, done what they've done to Jimmy Kimmel and his program. But I think, corporations are always going to do what they have to do to sort of meet their objectives as a company, right? And so to the extent that throwing Jimmy Kimmel, okay, buddy. To the extent that throwing Jimmy Kimmel under the bus was beneficial towards their, odds of getting the approval that they're looking for, I think that they're going to do it. Now, should that have been a factor? Also, probably not from the beginning, right? Like, I don't know that it's right. I don't know that it's right that the company even necessarily felt like, taking a host offline to make the president happy would have helped them, right? I think that already says a little bit about where we're at. But I think the Fed's getting involved in who's hosting a television program based on personal opinions and sensitivities of elected officials or federal officers is, I think, by any stretch of the imagination, a huge violation of the First Amendment, right? Because I think the conversation about cancel culture to this point, and I'm really curious how sort of the Joe Rogan sphere, manosphere, the hits keep coming, folks. Group of comedians will take it. Will take this Jimmy Kimmel thing. Is, yo, McDonald, what's going on? I think it'll be interesting to see, you know, how people who talk a lot about free speech among comedians react to this, right? Because at the end of the day, this is sort of, you know, the ultimate example of cancel culture. Because I think the narrative that we've seen for a very long time, the worst item to pick up there. The narrative that we've seen for a long time is that you have to be walking on eggshells because you can't say anything these days, and if you do, you're going to get in trouble, you're going to get canceled, you're going to get yanked off the air, and that's not right? And now here we have an example of somebody who just objectively has obviously had that happen. And you got to imagine there will be some pushback eventually. Amazing stream. Thank you, McDonald. I'm glad that you think so. I'm waiting for the shoe to drop. Are you going to try to sell me bot viewers? I've been around the block a time or two. Either bot viewers or logos or something. Do you have a sales pitch? If you are genuinely here because you're like, oh, I love this stream, welcome. But anyway, all this to say, it is interesting because it's the difference between, yeah, there it is. Do you have a better way to grow your channel? It's the difference between sort of the public deciding that they don't like what you had to say and, you know, so your ratings go down or, you know, there's outcry. I think there's that element of it. But then there's once the federal government gets involved in putting its finger on the scale, I think that's where you sort of run into trouble. And I think that that's what we face right now with the Jimmy Kimmel thing. You know, that's so different than where we've been. And then not to mention sort of the problematic, by problematic I mean like the crisis level problematic nature of sort of all the other things, right? And so the Discord CEO, the Twitch CEO, and then the Reddit CEO have all been subpoenaed to go before Congress and talk about radicalization on their platforms. And so I think that that's something that is a sign of the direction things are going. Because I don't know about you, but I feel like every time I've ever seen a discussion about societal issues circle to violent video games or video game communities, it has always been some really stupid shit, for lack of a better phrase. And so it's really hard to say exactly where this specific chapter of the 2020s goes, but it's not looking super positive right now. And I think if you're a free speech advocate, if you're somebody who, you know, like us, we advocate for, you know, young people to be involved in the political process and to have their voices heard, you know, at the ballot box, but then also in the community, it's like, okay, so, you know, that could be a risky endeavor now. And that's not the sort of thing that contributes to a healthy democracy, right? Oh, I missed the pipe. And so I've got to win one of these for you guys. I came in second place that one, the first one, and then like 12th and 14th. And boy, oh boy. I'm glad I'm not playing Knockout Tour, because I'm like, whatever part of the brain does political analysis conflicts with whatever part of the brain does Mario Kart, I think. Jesus. Hey, McDonald, I am all set. I will pass on the best way to grow my channel information. though I appreciate your offer. I'm sure there's no spyware involved. And we're gonna do that. Hopefully dodge a shock. Oh shoot. Oh, I drifted the wrong way. And here comes the shock, I think. Or not. Okay, 7th place. Listen, not ideal. Not bad, not awful. I will say the culture of using the canned responses in Mario Kart to essentially shitpost is a fantastic thing. It's one of my favorite things, because in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe it used to be I'm using tilt controls, and now it's like I'm a little nervous or what a shame. And you just kind of spam those in the lobby, and I don't know what it means. Sometimes I'd imagine it's shit talk. Sometimes I think it is a way to build camaraderie. It's some combination of things, but it's fun because everybody knows that nobody's actually saying what a shame, you know? There's community in it. All right, so we're going from Mario Circuit to Whistle Stop Summit. Now, there's a lot of talk online about people who don't like they call them intermissions. And so basically these courses where they're connecting courses rather than just the 3 laps that you're used to in Mario Kart. I feel like a lot of that's overblown. Like, this is fun in a different way, right? I think with courses, you have to memorize the course, you get good at the course, you know all the shortcuts, right? I think in this, it's very similar, where there are shortcuts you can take, there's, you know, any number of sort of small gems for you to discover and things to get good at. I would say the main difference here, though, is I think item strategy becomes very important. And it's like we talked about in that first match, is that, you know, there are tracks where it makes sense to really go ham and kind of try to be in first place the entire time. But then there are tracks where being in first is not the best strategy, which is, I think, counterintuitive to what a lot of people understand about Mario Kart. But the reality is that in this game in particular, being in first place, especially these intermission tracks, being in first place is often not the best. You want to get the best items possible and save them for the last lap, because in the last lap what happens is people save the shock power-up. And the shock power-up takes away all of your items and makes you small, and then whoever's in the back, if you dodge the shock, you are fortunate enough to essentially just get guaranteed first or second place. And so I don't know where it is on these maps, because I primarily played the knockout tour, which means that I don't have a lot of game sense on this. But usually it's after like this kind of second to last or last item block or item box. And so it should be coming up, yeah, I would imagine the shock is gonna come here. So I'm gonna hit this, and hopefully it'll come, and we get a little boost there. Oh, there it is, see? So it came a little later than we needed it to. But had they used the shock at that point, we would have been in great shape. We were not, though. So we were not in great shape. Yeah, McDonald, I don't think I'm going to... I don't think I'm going to send the Discord username. Thank you, though. All right, so we've got quite a few people in here. I don't know why I picked Crown City. I do like, what's it called? This desert one. I forget what the name is, but in Knockout Tour, it's got a pretty crazy shortcut that you can utilize. Maybe what we'll do is after this, while we're waiting for my buddy Julian to call in, is we will we'll play like a normal Knockout Tour against computers. And I will put y'all onto some incredible Knockout Tour shortcuts and tricks here. Oh, Airship Fortress is a good one. This one's a sweaty one. Oh my gosh. Not for me, though. Christ. That's okay. 3 laps, you know? See, that's not really when you would want to do the shock. I don't know why. People do that sometimes, and they just pick the wrong time to do it, which is fine with me, because that makes it easier to essentially get through the next lap. But, like, typically you want to wait until the 3rd lap, right about after the last item box here. And that's going to get you, especially if you're in the back, that's going to give you the biggest opportunity to catch up, especially if you have less than ideal items. Hey, McDonald, listen, we are, nope, I don't think we're going to reply to you. I'm sorry. We're not interested. Thank you, though. Okay, so this is a pretty good place to have this item. So now we're going to hit this. And we should get a nice bullet bill extension into the end here. Oh, but we didn't have enough. That's tough. We didn't have quite enough to get it to the front, but it's all good. Seven. Oh no. Yeah, I'm really not good at Mario Kart and talking. Okay. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go and we're going to play some Knockout Tour. I'm going to show you against the 150cc folks. And we're going to talk through some vague strategy for each. Now, actually, this is a good place to start. So if you're a complete beginner to Mario Kart World, I think some things that are important to know is each character has its own like weight class. They all have their own stats. And so if you Google Mario Kart World Builder, you're going to find a website where it gives you a breakdown of the stats for each character. And then from there, you pair that with whichever cart it is you use, and each cart has its own stats. It's similar to the last one, but there's a lot of different sort of combinations available, right? And so sort of the meta, the thing that people do a lot is they use either Toadette or Nabbit or Swoop, so these really small, lightweight characters or featherweight characters, and they pair them with high acceleration carts. And the idea with Knockout Tour is that you want to have high acceleration because there are so many items and you get hit so many times. And so having a cart that you can kind of get up quickly is important. Now, the strategy that I use in Knockout Tour, I tend to not really need to do that quite as much. And that's in large part because I'm not putting myself in the position to get hit in high salient situations like that. Like, I'm not going to get hit enough that I need to be doing it that way. Because I frankly do a lot of sort of last place to first place. And shock dodge and that sort of thing. And so I think that this map in particular, Spiny Rally, is one of the more challenging ones when you get started because there's so many opportunities to fall off the map. But it's actually not too bad once you get into it. And so we'll do this and we'll go through this for a little bit. And so if you play this online for long enough, I think what you'll see is people kind of hang out and they hang back. And the idea is to get a few 24th place or like the worst item or the best items you can right out of the gate. And that is, like I had mentioned earlier, the strategy is called bagging, essentially like sandbagging. And you want to get items for worse placements into higher positions. And the idea behind doing that is that if you can get up front with, an item like this, like the Mega Mushroom, like you're going to be in much better shape than being in back with, or being in front with, a single coin or a single green shell or something where you could find yourself in trouble even though you've had the lead for the whole match. And in Knockout Tour, that's especially important because you have to be, at these benchmarks for each checkpoint or else you're out, your game's done. And so we're coming up here on the 20th place checkpoint, which means that you have to be in 20th place or better in order to move on to the next round, right? So you'll see we're in third there. And so we made it to the next level. Now it's going to go 20, 16, 12, 8, 4, and then, whoever's number one. And so in a normal online match, what I would do is I would hang back here, and I want to let pretty much everybody pass me. It's usually you don't have to wait this long, but the computers are much worse at this game than people are. And so the reason you do that is to get good items. And with a map like this, I think my primary concern, especially at this leg, is to get the bullet bill or something else that sort of takes the driving out of my hands. Now I know that I could turn on the smart steering feature and not have to worry about it, but the bullet bill is good here for two reasons. There's this really sharp turn here that a lot of players miss, right? But there's also the ability to dodge the shock because a lot of more advanced players will deploy the shock right after that item box. And if you get hit with that and you're, not in 16th or above, if you get hit by the shock at that specific juncture, your game is done, right? And so when you get the bullet bill in that spot, what that means is that you are going to effectively avoid that shock and pretty much be guaranteed to pass through to the next round. And so that's, I think, a big part of why I go for that specific item. I will also, it's not as ideal, but I think the, the Mega Mushroom there, also a strong contender. The only problem there is that the motion is a little bit faster, and so you typically want to avoid things that make it harder to drive on that stretch, just because there's that winding road involved, and that's that. Now this 12th place checkpoint I think is similar in that there's a final kind of windy stretch that leads to the checkpoint that can really be make or break, and it's very hectic. They kind of funnel everybody into a very small road area, and so it's typically my strategy here, to either get the shock, or if I can't get, okay, so somebody else just got the shock, which is great because now we know that that's not in play moving forward, and so we can essentially try to get as close to the front as possible with no worries. But usually I would try to get the shock myself, so that way I'm in control of that and I can, just pass everybody. But absent being able to do that, I'll try to get the bullet bill. And then as a secondary, I think you typically want or prefer to have, a golden mushroom. 3, triple reds here is also fine. I wouldn't necessarily burn the bullet bill early just to, get... Oh, that's not good. I wouldn't burn the bullet bill early here, just to swap out the triple reds for something. Oh, okay. I saw that happen in slow motion. That's funny. Just to try to get something better in the second slot. So, we're just going to go through with it. It looks like it's going to work out here. But you'll see what I mean here. This stretch is pretty crazy. And so if you're towards the back, you're probably not going to make it that way. This checkpoint, this 12th into 8th place checkpoint on Spiny Rally, if you aren't in a situation with computers, or you're not confident in your position, a good thing to do is to hang back and try to get sort of in that order. You want to get a golden mushroom and you want to get a bullet bill. And so all the items are on the right-hand side, but the fastest path is actually the one that I'm taking now, right? You want to sort of eliminate as much of the unnecessary travel as possible, and so we're hugging these lines pretty closely. If I didn't already have these items, I would be on that path trying to get those items. And I would certainly be hanging back, because when you get the... Oh, I don't know how that happened, but we're just going to full send it here. So when you get the gold shroom, you want to take that corner really tight and then go across the water as opposed to following the path. And that's a much faster route. And then you want to obviously kind of drift into this and just make it to the checkpoint. We're going to wait to get hit. And then boom. And so I think sort of where I've landed on this game is that a lot of it is like a puzzle, right? And if you know what items you need where, or what items provide you like the best chance where, it's not always being in dead last, right? Sometimes it's, sometimes it's a lot easier than that, or it's a lot less involved than that. But once you know what items you need where and what place you need to be in to get them, it's sort of just a matter of like, is anybody going to mess that up for you? And if the answer is no, you should win or come close to winning pretty much every round you play. And so I think online it's a lot trickier because other people are sort of on the same strategy or have variations of the same strategy. And so you can end up in, you can end up getting knocked out because somebody uses an item in a way that's not normal or that feels, surprising. And that's fine. That's going to happen. No. Ooh, that was close. But I think the most important thing is knowing sort of where the shortcuts are, what items you need to sort of like ideally play, and you know how to move forward if you don't get them. And sometimes the answer is you don't, right? Sometimes the answer is you just, you know, you don't have the cards, and that's okay. And so this last section here, you just kind of want to be, you just want to drive it well. You just got to get familiar with it. I would say just play a lot of the computer version of Spiny Rally and you'll see it. Better players than me can jump off of the grind rails up there and all that. I find you often don't need to. But yeah, so that's Spiny Rally. That's like 101 on that. I hope that's helpful for all the aspiring Mario Kart people out there. All right. So that was only 2 stars. It's really hard to get, what's it called? To get 3 stars against the computers on this. All right, let's do an online one. Let's go back to online. Let's get a little bit of that going. Something a little bit more exciting. But that's part of why I can't do Knockout Tour when I do these streams, is because it's so... it's so much. It's very involved. Whereas the more casual 3-lap races, this sort of thing is... I don't care as much about this. But yeah, I mean, I think the big topic of the day is that free speech one. I think we're still waiting on Julian to call in, and that should be about any minute now. Let's see. Yeah, 5:19, so probably plus or minus 10 minutes from now. We'll be looking at that. And that'll hopefully be a pretty good discussion. And maybe even a switch of games. Because we've been playing Mario Kart because that's sort of the easiest option for me to do solo. But with Julian, we have a variety of games we can play. How many of them are stream appropriate for a, you know, a voting rights kind of organization? Unclear. But you know what? This is a weird premise in and of itself, so here we are. Oh, we're just in the lobby. I was like getting really into it. No, we're just in the lobby, folks. But yeah, I mean, I think here's the thing. At the end of the day, the First Amendment is just key to everything we've got going on in this country, right? I don't think that most people appreciate how important the right to say whatever it is you want, free of interference from the government, is just baked into, I feel like, who we are. And, you know, I don't know. for me personally, I would have a very hard time. I'd have a very hard time if, suddenly people started saying, oh, well, you can't say that. I just wouldn't. I would have a very hard time doing it because I've got very strong political opinions, right? I started a nonprofit organization about, the importance of being engaged and involved and having your voice be heard, right? From a very young age, I was interested in being a part of the political process and sort of advocating for issues and causes that were important to me. And so if all of a sudden, the federal government can decide, hey, that's not actually an issue you're allowed to advocate for, or that's not an opinion that you're allowed to hold, right? I mean, not only is that I feel like social studies 101, like not how America works, but also it's just like for me personally, it's just personally repulsive, right? And I think for a lot of people who live in America, it is because it's something that we learn from such an early age is freedom in this country and what it means to be free in this country. And I think that a big part of the very nature of the founding of this country was based on having your grievances heard and being really intentional about building a country that is responsive to the people that the government serves. It's bewildering to me that we're at a point where the feds are essentially deciding that they're going to put their thumb on the conversation when it comes to what is or is not allowed speech in the media, right? I think for years we've heard about, with examples, I mean, think about, I think for millennials, one of the things we've seen sort of in our day, for lack of a better term, is in the 2000s, there was a big thing about the Westboro Baptist Church, right? And if you're not familiar with them, the Westboro Baptist Church is, a group of folks who are very extreme in their religious beliefs and, would say sort of like intentionally offensive things as a means of generating publicity for their church and for their sort of political beliefs as a result of their beliefs, right? And so one of the things that they would do is they would picket military funerals, right? And like, if your immediate reaction to that is like, Jesus Christ, that's crazy. Like, yeah, you're right. Like, I feel like that is like pretty offensive. Hot take, that seems offensive, right? But I think for all of our lives, sort of the thing that we heard was like, oh, well, that's, as much as we might not like that, like that is sort of their right. That is their constitutional right to do it. And so when they would try to pass laws banning that sort of thing, like there would be no dice, right? And, they would take it to court and they would win because the First Amendment protected their right to do so, right? And so obviously, they're not making laws banning Jimmy Kimmel from doing, monologues. However, like we talked about, exerting that sort of soft power, like we're seeing with, this merger that they're looking to get approved, is, I think, an example of government overreach. Are we going to do it? Let's see, how many spaces can we make up here? Go, Mario, go. Oh, no, the red How'd we do? Sixth place. Not bad. Not bad at all. Plus 17. Okay, we're clawing back here. But I think that sort of thing is really an example of what it is we're dealing with, right? This sort of I don't even think it's appropriate to call it soft power, right? Because it's not soft power. If I were applying for a job with you, right? Let's say you're my employer or you're interviewing me for a job. And during the job interview process, they say, hey, you know, we really don't like your roommate, you know, or we really don't like that shirt. We think that, you know, you ought to not have that shirt, right? You'd probably change shirts. And you might really like the shirt. The shirt might be doing just fine for you. But there's a power imbalance there, and you need something that they have, and they are heavily implying to you that that's like a condition of how you're going to get it. And so I think that to some extent, you've really got to, it's hard to look at what's happening now as anything but like a direct violation of the First Amendment. And I don't think that that's a political thing to say. I don't think that that's a Republican or a Democrat sort of position to take. I think that that's just like a core constitutional question. Um, and frankly, people on the left and the right should be upset by this, because I think people on the right have been very vocal about their concerns about cancel culture, about their concerns about that sort of thing. And people on the left have obviously also been that way, especially in the wake of this Jimmy Kimmel thing. And so I think anybody who's, you know, in good faith, making observations about the First Amendment and, you know, cancel culture and comedy and the right of people to say, you know, to say what they're saying, ought to be concerned about the fact that the federal government can look at, you know, a specific program they don't like and exert some sort of corporate influence with the host network, and that goes away, right? Because in theory, they're not directly passing a law that says that. But if the federal government has the right to just hit up your boss and say, hey buddy, if you want XYZ thing from us, you're going to have to get rid of that person. Did they, you know, get the votes in the House and the Senate and get it signed by the president, and now suddenly, ooh, we got the lightning. Did they get the votes in the House and the Senate and get it signed by the president to make that law that Jimmy Kimmel's not on the air? No. But like, did they pretty much explicitly do that? Yeah, absolutely, right? And so I don't know. I mean, if you're watching and you have another take on this, I would love to hear it. But that's just sort of my immediate takeaway there. So that doesn't seem right. Gosh, I'll tell you what. This game, particularly this Rainbow Road, I feel like is like gorgeous. Like they really outdid themselves with this. For all the hate that Mario Kart World has gotten, I feel like this Rainbow Road may be, frankly, I'm gonna regret getting this far out so early. How the... Oh my god. At least all that hit me before here. Alright, well these red shrooms are going to be helpful. Oh. No, they're not. Just kidding. Just kidding, I lied. Oh my god. When it rains, it pours, folks. Okay. Alright, we've got some good items in the last spot here. Can we do anything with it? Or does everybody else also have good items? Ooh, we are kind of hauling ass right now, though. Oh! Oh no! Oh no! That wasn't great. That wasn't great gameplay. All right. That was so close. We were so close to doing something good there. I'm telling you. I'm very good at Knockout Tour. And you can believe me because my rank in that is like 8,700. I am so bad at the rest of this game. Where do I prefer? Let's go to Toad's Factory. All right. We're just coming into the second hour of the stream. Feels like it may have been longer. But hopefully, it was so entertaining, it felt like it was no more than 5 minutes, right? Dude, this guy, listen. This guy, where did he go? Now he's bagging. He waited like a full 3 minutes before he started driving. But he underestimates that I'm willing to lose the match to teach him a valuable lesson. Oh, cool. I missed the truck. I could have taken the truck. The truck is, if you've never seen that, you can drive other vehicles in Mario Kart, and it is like fairly bananas every time. Like, very aggressive, running people over the whole 9 yards. It is a great time. I recommend it heavily to everybody. Okay, so I've got items that I like now. So I'm going to try to get up front, or as close to up front as I can. Ooh, they're giving out free stars and mushrooms out of the back of this truck. I'm bummed I didn't get the star. But so, buddy behind me probably has the lightning. Oh no, don't run me over, sir. Probably has the lightning, or is going to get the lightning. I have the bullet bill mushroom though. Though with, here's the thing. Oh. It's so funny how predictable it is that once I say something, that once I say something about not getting hit, oh, I got my items back, okay. About not getting hit or how it would be bad to be hit or how I like my items, the moment I invoke those thoughts, here comes the lightning or something like that. And so I do think I'm in pretty good shape here, though. I've got some pretty great power-ups. I need to catch up a little bit. And once I do, I'm going to throw this on in the room that's got like the kind of spinny stuff going on. And you'll see what I mean here shortly. Oh no, don't run me over, don't run me over! Don't run me over! Oh, that was so close. Okay, so I'm going to deploy my bullet bill here. So that's going to get me quite a ways out. Oh, oh boy. Okay, did we get third? We got third there. Excellent. Excellent. That was close. $77.90. So at least we're hovering. We're kind of hovering between 7,800 and where we are now. Alright, pick Bowser's Castle. Not because I'm good at the track, but strictly because I like the vibe. I don't know, I feel like in my in my older years, as a character, I prefer Mario these days, but I've always really liked Bowser. I think Bowser's a fun villain. He's like a little scary, a little intimidating as a concept, but still fun, you know? Got him. Oh, I would have gotten him again with that banana, too. Gosh, name me a more iconic duo. Discord and your buddies flaking. Can't do it. Cannot be done. But next Tuesday, I'll tell you what. This is sort of a shake the rust off stream. Next Tuesday is going to be, we're going to be back in action because teaming up with Christian from Rise, and then I believe his buddy Sterling is from the Unfuck America campaign or something like that. And so we're going to have a great conversation. They're actually going to be, if you're in Las Vegas and you want to hear some cool conversation, Red Rock Democrats, Red Rock Dems, while we're nonpartisan in our work at the moment, I know that they're taking their sort of dog and pony show over there to talk a little bit about the gaming space and online and sort of all the stuff that we're about here. Oh, okay. Well then. And so I'm really excited to see that. I think that'll be a good time. I suck at this game. Oh my god! Okay. All right, second place. We're locked in now. We got a third place. We got a second place. Plus 54. All right, we're in the 78s again. We'll see. We can get back up to 79, I think. We'll get there. I believe. I would say we're going to give it another 20 minutes. If we don't hear from Julian, we're just going to pull the old plug. We're going to call it a night. I would be remiss to not mention, if your voter registration, if you're not sure if your voter registration is up to date, you can check your voter registration at newvotenv.org/register. That's newvotenv.org/register. And that's the thing I think everybody should do. Just make sure. I'm sure you already know if you're registered to vote. But I think there are some weird things that you might not think about that are worth knowing, right? And so let's say you move. If you move, you've got to update your voter registration because your old voter registration is at your old address, right? And so you need to make sure that they have the most recent address, especially with mail ballots. You want to make sure that you're getting your ballot in the mail, right? So you've got to, if you update your address, if you move, you've got to update that on your voter registration. So you would need to essentially re-register. If you change your name, so let's say you get married or you get divorced, right? Hopefully not divorced, but let's say you get married. You probably need to change your voter registration to reflect your new name if you took your partner's name. And so that's important. Let's say you're changing your political party. You're either joining one for the first time or you are leaving one and going nonpartisan, or you're switching from one party to the other. All of those things, you would in fact need to update your voter registration. And so you can do all of that and kind of check your status on newvotenv.org/register. Jesus Christ. Okay, let's just do this. And I think that that's a good spot to do it. Oh, I thought that was about to give us the a bullet bill extension there. I was going to say, that's crazy. But no, that makes a lot more sense. This camel just in the middle of the road chilling. I don't know this map at all. I know the components of it from Knockout Tour. I don't know the actual layout of it whatsoever. I know what I know of this map from Knockout Tour and YouTube videos. That's about it. Wow. I just tore up the scene. Oh my gosh, and I missed the items. I am so bad at this game. Do not red shell me. You're not allowed to do that. Oh my god. Oh, nice. 4th place. So we got 2nd, we got 3rd, we got 4th order. And so we're kind of making our way back here. $78, $75. Random Yoshi. Yoshi jump scare. That was horrifying. Oh man. Only 547, and I'm exhausted. Here's the thing: is I still probably fit in the younger voter category, but I'm getting towards the tail end of that category, and so you get tired a lot. You get tired a lot earlier when you reach 30. It's all over. It's all downhill from there. So if you're watching this and you're some student at UNLV or UNR, hang on to what you got. Oh man. Though I will say, I feel like there's a meme. I see this meme a lot when I watch Instagram Reels. And it's like the Rocky clip. And it's like Rocky and what's his face? And they're like, we can't do it like we used to do Rocky. And I'm like, no, that's not true. I'm doing it better than I ever did. Hello, Julian. You're live on the internet with New Vote Nevada. Can you hear me? Do you read? Oh, I cannot hear you. Hang on, let me change my Discord settings. This is a me problem. Output device, headphones. Okay. There you are.
Hello.
Hello. I was just talking to my loyal one viewer about growing old.
I'm getting up there, man.
I know. Well, I'm getting up there, but gosh golly. If these...
Someone told me...
Go ahead.
Someone was telling me that there's like 3 ages where your body ages the most. I don't know how true that is, but apparently 33 is one of them.
Oh, man.
And Lord knows I do feel old this year.
I mean, I'm coming up on it. I'm not quite there. I'm 31? 31. I'm 31. I had to do some mental math.
I hope you know what you are.
I know, well, I feel like these days, I used to be able to say with such surety, right? Like, I was like, I'm 22, you know? But once you get past a certain age, you don't care anymore. I think once you hit 30, it's just like, I'm either 30 or 31, but I could be 32. I'm not 33. I know I'm not 33. But I could be the others. Hard to say. Who could say, Julian?
Not I.
Fudge. I just got shocked in Mario Kart. Yeah. How are you feeling about the First Amendment these days?
I mean, it's interesting.
Yeah,
it
seems
it is
like
I don't know, man. It's did I think that? I'm assuming this is a question indirectly or directly tied to the Jimmy Kimmel news.
Yeah, of course.
I will admit I am a little surprised. I also will confess I don't know what he said that led to the outrage that has resulted in his show being canceled indefinitely. I certainly do think the idea that the way he has to apologize is donate to a political action committee is a little bit weird.
Right.
But again, don't know what he said, so yeah.
Well,
don't want to go.
Yeah, I don't think that it is in the best interest of either of us to litigate the appropriateness of certain jokes over the last week. But I think that what Jimmy Kimmel said, as somebody who is sort of trained to be very sensitive to those sorts of things, was not was not really approaching the line. It like
In your
very,
opinion. Okay.
in my opinion, seemed just kind of like vaguely alluded to the events of the last week, but like not in a way that was like offensive, just more like it, setting up another comment. You know what I like? It I don't know. It didn't seem like the sort of thing that ends, you know, a decades long run of a late night television show in America, right? And so
Yeah.
I think, and this is sort of what I was saying earlier, is that obviously sort of the work that New Vote's doing right now is largely nonpartisan. And so, like, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, you know, Democrats this, Republicans that. But what I will say is that just from like a very base level, like First Amendment, you know, I think one of the things that's been in conversation on the First Amendment front for a while now is this cancel culture thing, right? And I think that this sort of provides, this Jimmy Kimmel thing provides like a natural foil to the, oh, my employer fired me because I said something they didn't like, versus the United States federal government, you know, used soft and or hard power to shut me up, right? Because I think in a lot of instances, it's like, oh, well, you know, I made a joke on Twitter that my employer thought was offensive, and so they let me go. That's my First Amendment right? Which is like, whether or not you have a lawsuit with your employer for wrongful termination, I don't know, right? Like, I'm not a lawyer. However, I think like the FCC guy being like, Jimmy Kimmel's not that appropriate because that's a bad joke. Also, you guys have like a merger that's up for approval and I'm the unilateral decision maker on that. Should probably get rid of Jimmy Kimmel, huh? Right? Like, who's to say? Perhaps the intent was not for that to, you know, sway it that way. But it just feels like once the feds get involved at that level, that's like the real problematic First Amendment shit. Like, is that off base?
No, I mean, you'd like to imagine that the executive branch is above that, not engaging in it.
You'd like to believe
and yet,
that.
Here we are.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Is this isn't a thing where, you know, you and I are getting on here and sort of making up that the executive branch has an interest in doing that. It's that the president of the United States is posting on social media, Jimmy Kimmel, you're next. You know, you know what I mean? I feel like it would be a little bit more spicy of a take if it were just like we were seeing this and sort of reading the tea leaves. But it's not that we're doing that. It's just that he's factually said, I'm going to get rid of Jimmy Kimmel. And now Jimmy Kimmel is gone at the very first opportunity, you know, that the major network had in the midst of needing federal approval for something and at the behest of, the FCC chair or whoever it was.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I don't know. I just feel like it's uncharted territory.
But we've been progressing to this for quite a while, right? Like, President Trump, in between his first and second term, was frequently claiming that the federal government, and specifically the Biden administration, was being weaponized against him. And so for his administration to now be weaponizing the powers of the federal government isn't a step away from the accusation he leveled previously. So it does raise the question of, you know, as we proceed into uncharted territory as we are, what will the next administration think is acceptable?
Well, and that's ultimately the thing, right? It's like, listen, you know, people cheering in the street.
You know, an election in 2028.
Well, I feel like people cheering in the streets for like the downfall of Jimmy Fallon are maybe missing the broader point, which is that like if if the president of the United States or the FCC chair could say, "Hey, listen, I didn't like that joke. That joke was about my friend. I didn't like it, and you have business before my office, and so unless you fire XYZ person, or softly hinting at that sort of thing, we can make your life more difficult." Like, that sort of thing is such a huge problem for everybody, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, because, like, at the end of the day,
Yeah.
the pendulum swings, and that's not to say that, that's not me getting on here and saying, hey, when the Democrats eventually get back into power, they ought to do that. I don't think that they should. I don't think that that's appropriate.
Well, your argument is that no one should do it, right?
Right. Is that
I think
nobody should do it.
I think an important element here is that Jimmy Kimmel is a known comedian.
Right.
And it seems as if in our society, we allow comedians more runway when it comes to pushing the boundaries of humor. And an example I would give is, do you remember when, I forget her name, so apologies, a woman made a tasteless joke about going to Africa and the risk of contracting AIDS before getting on an airplane.
Oh, I remember that story.
And by the time she landed and turned her phone back on, she had been fired.
Right.
Or maybe she was not fired, but her employer had been made aware of this joke and she was going to be eventually fired.
Yeah, like she was...
And...
Yeah.
And the reality is that if you are a comedian, you get more runway in our society than if you're not a comedian. And even if Jimmy Fallon's joke was
Kimmel
tasteless,
Kimmel.
Kimmel, not
he's
Fallon.
He's already down. Don't disrespect him like that.
Too many Jimmys at late night. I'm sorry.
There really are. Yeah.
Even if Jimmy Kimmel's joke was tasteless, I do think it's worth asking, in an effort to ensure that comedians can try and push boundaries, do we not want to give them the leeway to do so? And if we now are suddenly not, what kind of an effect will that have on comedy, on what comedians are comfortable saying or not saying? And it feels like we are crossing a bridge that should not be crossed, where comedians can make fun of folks on all sides of the aisle, or at least used to be able to. And now, depending on who happens to be at the White House, they're off out of bounds.
Well, I would also say, and it's probably helpful for you for the context of the conversation, is if you have the means to Google Jimmy Kimmel's comments right now and look at them, like...
You almost said Jimmy Fallon that time, didn't you?
I almost said Jimmy Fallon. Whoever it is, James, if you have a chance to Google James's comments, you should, because I think you'll be surprised at how... when I read them, I was surprised. I was like, is that what he said? Because it was, again, it wasn't a joke about the situation. It was a joke that sort of like provides the context of, here is this thing that is happening, and here is how the people in power are reacting to it, right? And so, it really isn't a thing where, this harsh joke that pushed boundaries was made, as much as it was like a joke was made, not even about that subject, and it's being sort of extrapolated out to this thing that it's not. But sort of regardless of what the joke is, before you got on at the very beginning of the stream, while I was playing, I ran a video of, I'm assuming he's like a teacher or something, but he has a YouTube channel where he just like basically explained the First Amendment. Like, he read it and then he explained each part of it. And it's like very clear that the government doesn't have the right to tell you what to say, right? Like, it's one of those things where it's like, am I crazy? But that says we can say whatever we want, right? And it's like, outside of like invoking or inciting violence, right? Which Jimmy Kimmel's comments obviously did not do. You really can't say whatever you want, and the government can't tell you otherwise, right? And so it's crazy that the president can just get on social media and say, I don't like this comedian, he's got to go, and then the next day that comedian's gone. Because like I said, no, he didn't, get votes in Congress and make it the law of the land that like no guy named Jimmy Kimmel can have a talk show. But like, that's obvious direct interference of the federal government, And so I don't know.
Yeah, no,
Like,
I'm reading the comments right now. Wow. Okay, so he really didn't say. Is this it?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Also, you're not playing Mario Kart right now, are you? Because there's a guy in here named Julianator.
No, I don't have Mario Kart.
Very funny.
Wow.
Yeah, man, that's what I'm saying. It's crazy.
I mean, Kimmel has been very critical of President Trump for quite some time, so...
Right, but he's allowed to be.
It's understandable. Of course. Yeah. Well, not anymore.
I guess not, yeah.
We're all not allowed to be. Yeah. So let me try and get my lines. Let me rehearse my lines quickly.
Right.
Best president ever.
Dear leader, dude.
Dear leader. Yeah.
But I think that's what's concerning, is that it's like, it is ultimately, something that's going to be made out to be this political issue, but it's really not. It's like a social studies issue, right? It's like a not even a first grade, but like maybe a third grade social studies question is like, what's the First Amendment? Oh, well, it means freedom of speech. Okay, and what else? And religion. Good job. You get an A, right? Like, it's very fundamental to sort of what people know about what it means to be an American from the very beginning. That the fact that it is now functionally sort of up for debate is crazy. And it's not really up for debate. It's just being challenged in a way that I think it's never been challenged before. And I think for the work that I do in terms of getting young people to vote and sort of engaged in the processes, I think it makes it a hard sell, right? Because it's like, listen, use your voice. And it's like, oh, but like, then what if, right? And I think that that's a huge problem. And everybody ought to be concerned about it, but particularly young people, because we got to be around for a while. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
they did they just had a whole thing and to get super local about it. But like NV Energy, the power company here in the state, and they like recalculated the way that we pay our bill, where now your NV Energy bill is based on your like 15 minutes of highest usage, and then extrapolated out with like a fucking formula, as opposed to just like however much energy you actually use. Yeah, like it's stuff.
What they don't want to measure the meter. Like what?
I guess not. I guess they're just done reading the meter, which is like very funny.
They do that. They do that in Maine too. They don't want to measure the meter, so they project out your estimated usage for the month based on like the previous month and the month in the previous year, and then they will do like 1 or 2 measurements a year, and they'll make it right.
Yeah. But so something
Which
like that,
like laziness to me.
It definitely is. But something like that, I'll tell you what, I'll be damned if I'm not going to be able to show up to a meeting and say, hey, this is dumb, and I'm not going to do this. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I was saying earlier how I feel like for a lot of people, and I'm sure you feel the same way, but I don't know. I mean, I've got sort of a little bit of a anti-establishment streak in me, where it's like, no, I'm gonna say whatever I want to say, to my detriment a lot of the time. But I think a lot of people who grew up in America have that. It's just like part of the culture that it's like, no, you're not actually going to tell me what the fuck to say. Thanks, And so this whole idea that, obviously be tasteful, right? Like if Jimmy Kimmel had gotten up there and said some atrocious thing, I think you and I both would be, some of the first people to say, no, he definitely crossed the line there. That's crazy. I can't believe he said that on national television. But that's not really what happened. And so it's like, I don't know, but
Yeah, it is challenging to rationalize the to try and like understand the logic that, based on the comments that I'm reading, it warranted his cancellation. But
yeah,
I do wonder if people look at those comments and see them differently than I do, though. Like, are there people who look at those comments and say to themselves, "Oh yeah, he deserves to be fired"?
Probably.
Or, excuse me, suspended indefinitely.
I would imagine that that's the case, but I just think that those are probably people who aren't engaging with it in good faith, because like I don't know that there is really a read of that is close to as controversial as sort of what the consequence would imply.
Yeah. I would love for someone who has that opinion to explain it to me.
Yeah.
I want them to articulate why. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say Paz himself in chat said, "Hi, new Nevada resident here. Well, welcome. Welcome to Nevada. Where in Nevada? Are you in Vegas or Reno? Or please provide your full mailing address." No. but I am curious because we're getting rain in Las Vegas today. Jesus Christ! Look at what's happening to me.
Look, you're getting destroyed.
Dude, I'm getting destroyed.
12.
I mean,
you're
19.
Getting Jimmy Kimmels.
Okay. All right.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. That's you're not wrong.
It's a bridge too far.
Oh, Henderson, cool. That's awesome. How did you find the stream? I'm genuinely curious. Shocked, frankly. But glad you're here. Yeah, no, but that's the thing, Julian, is that in Nevada, this is big news because Jimmy Kimmel is from Las Vegas. He's a Clark High School graduate. Jimmy Kimmel famously endorsed Senator Jackie Rosen, who has come out swinging for Jimmy Kimmel. If anybody has Jimmy Kimmel's back, it's Jackie Rosen. Oh, from the Henderson subreddit. Cool. Well, welcome in. But yeah, so I think that's been a hot topic right now. And I think it relates directly to sort of where we're at with the First Amendment and, getting young people turned out, that sort of thing. And so, I don't know, man. Interesting times. Oh, what's the thing that what's the thing that they say? Is that like the worst thing you can say to somebody is, I hope that you live in interesting times. And part of me is like, yeah.
I gotta tell you, I'm ready for some boring.
I'm ready for I'm ready to live in a liminal space. You know what I mean? Put me in the temporal equivalent of like an airport lounge. You know?
Oh, you'll find this funny. I was talking to we were doing an exercise at work today, and someone we were doing like a thought exercise of in 10 years. How do we want to be introduced? Like what would we want people to say about us 10 years from now? And as we were sitting down to do the exercise, someone asked, is this like an obituary? Like, are we going to be dead in 10 years?
Just like, no, are you okay? Do you need to talk to somebody?
It was like, no, we're just doing an exercise on, what do you hope to accomplish in the next 10 years? But I did wonder, like, with how things are going,
yeah,
I hope I'm still around, but I don't know how much more of this my spirit can take.
Well, I think your spirit will be just fine, especially after the exciting developments I'm sure to come in the gaming world between now and then. We're gonna get Switch 3. We're gonna get GTA 6 next year. So like, listen,
GTA 6.
All we need to do is hang on until GTA 6. That's as a nation. As a nation, all we need to do is
what healed America? GTA 6.
I think it could.
GTA 6 healed America.
I think it could. I think it has the potential to bridge this divided nation. You know what else I think could, though? I think bringing back Modern Warfare 2 lobbies. You know, the camaraderie you built with random people in voice chat in like OG Modern Warfare 2. If you were to do that and then say, and that person, that man who you just went through war with, he was a Democrat. I think that would be enough for a lot of people. For a lot of just regular Joes, that's a way to get people to connect again. You know? It's like, you mean to tell me...
And that's why we're proud to announce that Nevada New Vote will be hosting weekly Modern Warfare 2 streams.
That's right. To further mutual understanding among the American people. Because it's like, think about it. You mean to tell me that a Democrat would play objective? Is that what you're trying to tell me here? You know, I think that could sway some hearts and minds.
Stranger things have happened.
I know.
We do live in stranger times.
I think
Interesting
so.
times, stranger times, what are they like?
I think
So,
go ahead.
Can I ask you a non-political question here for a second?
Yeah. Cheesecake Factory is a
So
nice
is the
restaurant, if that's what you're going to ask.
Oh, no, I'm aware. I was going to ask, is the strategy here to just sandbag until you get into 22nd place, hit a double box, you get 2 good items, and then try and get to the front and use those items to hold your lead? Is that what I'm watching here?
Yes, as a matter of fact. That's so I'm barely playing right now. What I've discovered is I'm quite bad at talking while playing Mario Kart. But
Okay.
when I play Knockout Tour like solo in handheld mode, dude, I'm a fucking animal. You stay back at certain points, and I'll load one up here. After
Oh
this.
man, hold on. Paz himself, Pokemon Go too. That will unite the nation.
Dude, Pokemon Go to the polls too. That would do it.
Pokemon Go to the polls. There you go.
Dude, I will never forget that rally. I was in the office and I saw that she said that, and I was like, I can't tell if this is the ultimate cringe or...
Is this AI? But that was before AI.
Yeah, dude. AI was just barely a glimpse in our world at that point. But yeah, so the strategy wise, we'll give you a primer here. Now that we've finished this online match, I'll go to a single player where I have the opportunity to show you. I'll show you what's going on. But yeah, this is how you unite the country again, Paz himself. Are you in the Discord, Paz? If you're not in the Discord, you ought to join. I think it would be helpful to have another living person in the Discord. Oh man. Because I started the Discord, and we've got like 50 people in there, but nobody talks. And then when I put something, people I used to work with just like react like, nice. And I'm like, cool, okay. This is organizing. But yeah, so Knockout Tour is interesting because it is, you're familiar with the concept, it's like a battle royale. What?
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yes, I am familiar, yep.
Yeah. Paz himself says I am in the Discord, but I haven't used it. No, that's fine. Neither have I. Neither have I, and I run the fucking organization, so that's not a great sign. So, battle royale. Let's do Cherry Rally because this one's a real stinker here. And so this is against computers, so it's going to be a lot easier, and so I won't need to do the sandbagging quite as much, but I can kind of walk you through what I'm thinking about when I'm playing this, because I do think it's interesting. And if you're Paz himself, our one viewer, shout out, and you are interested in playing Mario Kart World Knockout Tour, these are helpful tips. And so when you start the game, right, they just kind of plop you wherever. And oftentimes people will really bag hard here at the beginning. what I found is it doesn't matter, because like if I'm in 24th place or 23rd place here, I'm pretty much always getting triple mushrooms. Maybe I'm getting triple mushrooms and a star, but that doesn't do anything. Because in Knockout Tour, really the only thing that matters is getting through that checkpoint, right? And so you just have to be, like at the 20th place checkpoint, you just have to be above 20th place. You don't need to be first, you don't need to be second, you need to be at least 20th, right? And so people will hang out back there and sort of make it their mission to get the lightning right away. You're not going to. You can't. It doesn't spawn until 30 seconds in. Can you believe this, Julian? These people?
I believe it.
And so... Okay. That was not nice. But so you kind of hang back. I've got the combo that I like for this leg of Cherry Rally, which is the Bullet Bill and the Gold Shroom. And so the Bullet Bill is great because the lightning is essentially the power item in this game, which you get the lightning, it shocks everybody, makes everybody small, and it knocks their items out, right? And so smart players will deploy the shock after the last item block before the checkpoint. And so what that does is it means that if they're towards the back, they can accelerate past all the players who are small and shocked and without items, and they have no recourse, right? They can't come back from that. And so you can almost always get through the checkpoint. The Bullet Bill protects you from the shock. So if you're actively in Bullet Bill mode when the shock comes, it doesn't hurt you. And so you can just kind of like be invincible from that and then get to the other side of it and still have your gold shroom or whatever your second item slot is. And you're guaranteed to make it through, right? And so for this in particular, those are my two items for this that I try to go for. It's all random, but if you just like use items before item blocks, you know, you're good to go. It doesn't really matter. Okay, whatever. That was annoying. And so yeah, so you get to the checkpoint, and the first three in Cherry Rally are really aggressive. Because that first one is what you just saw, which is a lot of straightaway. And then the second one here is additional straightaway. And so what I tend to do is similarly hang back, try to get Bullet Bill, Gold Shroom. And what I'll do is I will come through this next upcoming item block here, and I'll deploy it right at the ramp that's going to be coming up here, because it's just a straight shot to the checkpoint. And if you get lightninged without an item, you can kind of be in deep trouble if you're not already in the right checkpoint. Because you'll see, like if lightning were to come here, I have no items and it's just straight away. And see, I'm gonna get blue shelled here, which is fine, because I have this boost item. And so that'll let me get my acceleration back. Anyway. So this is the most brutal stretch in the game, Julian. This one is... Yeah, this one is obnoxious. It is just a straight line, and there is one item box. And so you either get this item box and get items that allow you to survive, or you do not. And so I typically tend to come into this box around 15th or 14th place. And so that'll usually get me like a boost item that gets me through. And also like a protection item, so that way I don't get knocked out. But if you lose your items here and you get like run over or something, you're done. And this is a shitty place to get knocked out, because 12th place, you lose a lot of experience points. I tend to try to be like 12th place here, so dead last going through this block, because what I want to get again is the gold shroom and the bullet bill in that order, or no, not in order. Bullet bill, gold shroom, and then I just don't get any. Yeah, I don't get any other items. Dude, leave me alone. This game hates me. I don't get any of the items. I don't like waste them to try to get something better. I just take those and get all the way up to, you'll see this sort of twirly point we're going to come up on here in a minute. And there's another sort of like shock dodge spot that's really important. All of this, of course, directly related to American democracy. Dude, I'm getting...
Absolutely.
I was just getting beat up there.
What's funny is, since I'm watching your stream, I get to hear you complain before it happens, and so I get to guess what it is.
Very funny.
Which is a nice touch.
So this is where you would typically want to have that bullet bill gold shroom by, because this item box coming up here is the last one. And so
Gotcha.
you let people go through here, and the shock is pretty much consistently here. And so you hit the bullet bill, and now you're going and you're passing everybody as they're small. And then probably right around here, you're hitting the gold shroom, you're cutting over the grass, and then you're going up, and then you do like a really hard drift up here, and making this turn into the 8th place checkpoint. And so this one you pretty much want to go for shock, and you're not always going to get it, but you want to go for 8th place or 7th place going through the item box, because you want to, you'll see what I'm talking about here in a second, but you want to have an ability to pass everybody and just kind of do what you got to do, because this last turn into the 4th place checkpoint is crazy. Paz says, are you playing anything else on Switch too? Yeah, so I'm playing, I'll be honest with you, I've played so much Mario Kart, it's disgusting. Like, it is shameful how many hours I have on this game right now. I got the Kirby expansion, I got Donkey Kong Bonanza. I haven't finished Donkey Kong yet, though I need to. Yeah. And so that checkpoint back there is really the most important one, those item boxes. You want to be like 8th place there and hope you get shocked. If you don't, you want like a boost item. And so what you'll usually do is you'll boost through these boxes, through this dirt patch here. And then instead of taking the road, you want to take this turn really sharp and go this way, because you save so much time here. I've gone from like 7th place to 1st place just taking that turn very sharp, because everybody goes the long way and it's so much time. And so then you just kind of drift living shit out of this section. And the best place to be here when you go through the checkpoint to the item blocks is 4th, because then you get like triple red shrooms or gold mushroom, and you just cut across this grass, and there's a dirt patch back there too, where you're just going in a straight line down rather than doing all this sort of drifting that I'm doing here. And so that's like the meta strat for this one. You asked the strategy and you fucking got it.
I got it. I fucking got it.
But yeah, so that's my hot take on Mario Kart World.
I'm glad we got to talk about the First Amendment. We got some Mario Kart tips and tricks. This was great.
I think that this is great, because there was always a need for somebody who can say that they're worried about the news while also obsessively detailing the strategy for Mario Kart World maps.
Absolutely.
I think I heard that in donor meetings. They're like, you know what we need? You know what we're really worried about is
what we really need.
Nobody's telling young Nevadans nobody's telling young Nevadans the meta for Cherry Rally. That's
absolutely.
What else is going on? Is there anything else we should talk about? Is there anything else going on in the wild world of America?
Probably. I mean, it feels like every day there's so much news. But I unfortunately am going to need to go in 3 minutes. But
no, that's okay. You did get on.
Has anything else happened worth talking about?
No. And I think I'm looking now. We're coming up on 2 hours for a stream. That seems like a healthy stream.
Yeah. I'll share something.
Share, please.
I feel like America needs to know this.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
my fantasy football team is an absolute dumpster fire disaster.
What's your record?
So 0-2.
0-2. Okay, well, it's only 2.
I want you to know that ESPN gave my team an A grade, and I have lost every week. So
Doesn't ESPN have like a tie-in with 538 though? Isn't Nate Silver involved somehow now?
well, then Nate Silver told me I had an A, and I have lost every week.
No,
so.
that's what I'm saying. Is that tracks? You know what I mean? Like that's on par.
Once
with
again, what was the percentage he said Hillary had to win the election in 2016?
I don't know,
80%, 90%.
I can still see that fucking map in my brain. You know what I mean?
Me too. Regardless, I think that's the percentage he gave my team of winning the league, and that man is nothing but consistent.
Yeah. If it's any consolation, Paz himself says my wife's fantasy football got skunked. She had Kettle. I'm not a football guy. Is Kettle a player?
Kittle is a player who's now injured.
Ah, who's now injured. Oh shit. And picked someone on the Raiders who ended up retiring. Oh no, dude.
Well, Paz, let me tell you, I had Joe Burrow at quarterback, so I feel you. Mark, since you don't know, Joe Burrow just went on the injury reserve list and is going to miss 3 months. So.
3 months.
Yeah.
3 months, jeez. Okay. Well, I guess football is one of those games. If you're going to be out in football, it's because you've torn something that's not meant to be torn. So that makes sense. Well, yeah. I hope both of you turn it around. I hope that, Mrs. Paz turns it around, and I hope that Mr. Julian turns it around here, because it's the football season just started, right?
It sure did. We're in week 3.
Yeah, so you better figure your shit out there, folks, because otherwise, did you guys have the league fantasy football sort of like penalties if you lose?
No, this is a work league. That would be violently inappropriate.
Yeah, that would be very inappropriate. Well, I'm glad that you have at least some sort of insulation from the worst of it, but I wish you luck. I wish you both luck. And yeah, man, if you gotta go, we'll talk to you later.
I gotta go. Talk to you later. Have a good night, brother.
Well, Paz, it's just me and you now. And listen, I gotta go. I've been talking for 2 hours. I've been yapping for 2 hours, as the younger Gen Z would say. And so I am gonna take off. But listen, I really appreciate you hopping in. I hope that you had some fun. And if you did, shoot me a message on Discord. I'm Mark on Discord. I'm the server admin on there. And so shoot me a message and we can get you looped in. I hope to someday open this up, and by someday I mean just whenever, like open it up to more people. We were supposed to have somebody playing with us this week. We were originally going to play Gears of War, but that got pushed. And so in the future, we're going to be inviting people to play with us and jump in VC. And so it's going to become a lot more interactive than tonight's was. And so, yeah, hope that you will continue to join us for these. And, we'll have some in-person events one of these days as time permits. But, yeah, thanks for hanging out, man. I really appreciate it. But anyway, all right, let's see. Boom, we've got webcam only. Excellent. Well, that's it for tonight. We talked about the First Amendment. We played some Mario Kart. And frankly, what else could we possibly ask for in this life? And so for now, that's it. But we'll be back Tuesday night at some point, probably around the same time Tuesday. It'll be me. It'll be Christian from Rise, and some other folks. I think his name was Sterling from, I believe, the Unfuck America campaign. And so we're going to have a bunch of people on. We're going to play some video game, undetermined what it is yet, but it'll be a great time. And we're just getting started. So stick around, and thanks for hanging out. See you guys.